Greyfriars Kirkyard is not just any graveyard. It is a place where the past breathes, where whispers from centuries ago still linger in the air, and where shadows stretch a little too long, even under the dim light of the moon. Located in the heart of Edinburgh, Scotland, this centuries-old cemetery has earned a reputation that precedes it, a reputation for being one of the most haunted places. But what really happens in Greyfriars Kirkyard after the last tourist leaves and the gates close for the night? The answer to that question is not for the faint of heart. Imagine walking alone through a graveyard at dusk. The air is cold, biting against your skin, and an unnatural stillness surrounds you. The headstones, weathered and cracked, seem to lean toward you, as if whispering secrets of lives long past. Suddenly you hear it, a faint shuffle of footsteps behind you. You turn, expecting to see another visitor, but there's no one there. Then comes the laughter, soft and childlike, drifting on the wind. But you are alone, or at least you thought you were. This is the kind of chilling experience that countless visitors to Greyfriars Kirkyard have reported. But what makes this graveyard so uniquely terrifying? To answer that, we must journey back through its long and storied history, peeling back the layers of time, to uncover the tales of sorrow, violence, and the supernatural that have cemented its place in the annals of haunted lore. Greyfriars Kirkyard was established in the 16th century, its grounds becoming the final resting place for thousands of souls over the centuries. From plague victims to executed prisoners, the graveyard has seen more than its fair share of death and despair. But it's not just the sheer number of burials that lends the place its eerie reputation. It's the stories of those who lie beneath the earth and the spirits who refuse to rest. One of the most infamous figures associated with Greyfriars is George Mackenzie, a 17th century lawyer known as Bluety Mackenzie. Mackenzie was notorious for his role in persecuting the Covenanters, a group of Scottish Presbyterians who resisted attempts to impose Anglican practices on their faith. Hundreds of Covenanters were imprisoned, tortured, and executed under Mackenzie's orders. Many of them were buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard. Mackenzie himself was interred in a grand mausoleum within the graveyard, but his death did not bring an end to his infamy. In fact, it only seemed to amplify it. Visitors to Greyfriars have reported strange phenomena near Mackenzie's tomb, from inexplicable cold spots to the feeling of being watched. Some have even claimed to see a shadowy figure lurking near the mausoleum, its eyes glowing faintly in the darkness. But the most terrifying tales come from those who have dared to enter Mackenzie's tomb. Over the years, several people have broken into the mausoleum, either out of curiosity or as part of ghost tours. Many of these intruders have experienced bizarre and frightening events. Objects moving on their own, sudden and overwhelming feelings of dread, and even physical attacks. Some have emerged with scratches, bruises, or burns that they cannot explain. The activity surrounding Mackenzie's tomb has earned it the nickname the Mackenzie Poltergeist, and it is widely regarded as one of the most aggressive and active paranormal entities in the world. But Mackenzie is not the only ghost said to haunt Greyfriars Kirkyard. Another well-known spirit is that of a young boy named Thomas, who is believed to have died in the graveyard during the 18th century. Thomas is said to be a mischievous ghost, often playing tricks on visitors by tugging on their clothing or hiding small items. Despite his playful nature, there is an underlying sadness to Thomas's story, as he is thought to have been an orphan who lived and died on the streets of Edinburgh. Then there are the spectral figures who roam the graveyard at night, their identities unknown. These apparitions are often described as shadowy forms that move silently among the tombstones, vanishing when approached. Some witnesses have reported hearing disembodied voices, laughter, or even screams from the graveyard's darkest corners. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of Greyfriars Kirkyard is the phenomenon known as cold spots. Visitors often describe walking through patches of air that are inexplicably colder than the surrounding area, even on warm summer nights. These cold spots are often accompanied by feelings of unease, as if someone or something is standing just out of sight, watching. But Greyfriars Kirkyard is not just a place of fear. It is also a place of history and legend. One of the most famous stories associated with the graveyard is that of Greyfriars Bobby, a loyal Skye Terrier who guarded his master's grave for 14 years, until his own death. Bobby's devotion captured the hearts of the people of Edinburgh, and a statue of the little dog now stands near the entrance to the graveyard. While Bobby's story is heartwarming, it serves as a poignant reminder of the deep emotional connections that tie the living to the dead. Despite its chilling reputation, Greyfriars Kirkyard continues to draw visitors from around the world. Some come to admire its historical significance, others to pay their respects to the departed, and still others to experience its haunted atmosphere firsthand. For those brave enough to explore the graveyard at night, the experience is one they are unlikely to forget. One visitor described walking through the graveyard on a foggy evening, the air so thick with mist that the tombstones seemed to emerge from nowhere. As they approached Mackenzie's tomb, they felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as though an unseen force was warning them to stay away. When they ignored the feeling and stepped closer, they heard a loud, guttural growl that sent them running from the graveyard. Another visitor recounted how they joined a ghost tour that included a visit to the Covenanters' prison, a section of the graveyard where many Covenanters were held before their execution. The group was standing in silence, listening to the guide's story, when they heard what sounded like chains rattling. The guide assured them it was just the wind, but the visitor couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching them. Despite these chilling encounters, there are those who dismiss the stories as mere folklore, the product of overactive imaginations and the human tendency to find patterns in the unknown. But even the skeptics admit that Greyfriars Kirkyard has an atmosphere unlike any other, a palpable energy that defies explanation. So what is it about Greyfriars Kirkyard that makes it so haunted? Is it the tragic history of the Covenanters, whose suffering left an indelible mark on the land? Is it the restless spirit of George Mackenzie, still seeking to exert his power from beyond the grave? Or is it something else entirely, something we may never fully understand? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. Greyfriars Kirkyard is a place where the past and present collide, where the living and the dead share the same space, and where the veil between worlds feels impossibly thin. It is a place that challenges our understanding of life and death, and forces us to confront the mysteries that lie beyond. If you ever find yourself in Edinburgh, consider visiting Greyfriars Kirkyard. Walk among the tombstones, feel the weight of history in the air, and listen for the whispers of the past. But be warned, once you enter the graveyard, you may find it difficult to leave. The spirits of Greyfriars have a way of staying with you, haunting your thoughts and dreams long after you've gone.